So there's a very common question that I get about the Amish and their health. And there's a misconception that goes on that they don't struggle with any kind of diseases like cancer, autoimmune, autism, heart disease, diabetes, and those kinds of things. So I want to just, set the record straight here a little bit. There's actually some studies that have been put out there, but they're not true accurate studies, because here's the thing. In order to have accurate studies, you have to be able to get into the community and study the community accurately. And that's just not something that they have like full access to, because there's not a lot of Amish people that are going to participate in a study. And so when these studies come out and they're making claims that the Amish people don't have any kind of diseases and those kinds of things going on, just know that it's not accurate information, because they can't actually do the in-depth studies that they need to. So with that being said, never heard of IBS or autoimmune or any of those kinds of things while I was there. Never heard of hypothyroidism. And here's the thing. It doesn't mean that it's not prevalent, and it doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just that they're not going to the doctor where I'm from. They're not going to the doctor to find out whether or not, they have these things going on. There are no gynecologist visits. There are no primary care doctor visits. They're only going to go to the doctor if there's an emergency, if they're having a baby, if it's a life or death situation. My mom had a couple of those where one time she broke her knee really, really badly, and she had to get an ambulance to go to the hospital. And there was one other time too that she had to go to the hospital, but I don't know what it was, because they wouldn't tell us what the reason was behind that. And then the other part is there is diabetes. There is heart disease. I had an uncle that had diabetes and heart disease. He died from it. I had two other uncles that had heart disease. They died from that. And I had a couple aunts on my mom's side that had cancer. They died from that. I had a 16-year-old cousin that got leukemia. He died from that. My dad's dad died from a heart attack. So these things are prevalent. And a lot of people believe that they eat really, really healthy, live off the land primarily. And part of that is true. They do grow their own fruits and vegetables for the most part. Are they chemical and pesticide free? No, not unless they have an organic farm. Like my twin sister and her husband actually have an organic farm, and it's amazing what they do. But when I was growing up, we use those types of things. And we do, grow our own meat as well. And that meat is definitely much, much better than meat that you get from a factory farm. So those things are prevalent in the community. There are health issues going on within the community. I had a lot of health issues in my teenage years. My menstrual cycles were absolutely horrendous, and I had to do a lot of things to help with that. I am positive I was anemic without an anemic diagnosis because of things that were going on. And so they're prevalent. It's just that they're not necessarily getting checked and tested. And I just remembered that after I had left, I had a younger sister that did get diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. So she was always small and skinny and couldn't put any weight on, but she was extremely exhausted all the time. And so they did natural medicine, worked with a natural doctor to help her, and now she's fine. So these things are there, and I want people to know that just because they grow their own fruits and vegetables and animals, that it's still prevalent, and it's not because of the fact that they grow their own fruits and vegetables and that kind of stuff. It's how they cook their food. So in theory, they should be healthy because they're, living off the land and growing. Well, they're not primarily living off the land. They do go to the grocery store and they buy flour, sugar, some processed foods and stuff like that. But it's the way that they cook their food. So their food is really, really heavy. I don't cook anywhere close to the way that I was taught to cook when I was growing up. So the way that we were taught was like lots and lots of sugar, lots and lots of fried foods. So if we were to make chicken, we would put some butter in there, some flour in there, and fry the crap out of that chicken. So fried chicken, it's delicious, but it doesn't mean it's good for your arteries. And then we always had pie, we always had cookies. Everything was very, very heavily on the sugar part of things. So there you have it. There's your answer on that. Is IBS and autoimmune and that stuff prevalent in the community? Probably, but there's just not really any like diagnosis. And I'm speaking from my community specifically. Old Order and New Order, I actually work with some women from the Old Order and New Order communities. They reach out to me. They find me, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, they find me on there and they start working with me. So that's really, really fun. I get to work with Amish women.